people think it's about the followers. It's not always about the followers. You can monetize successfully. You can speak on panels, do press appearances. You can do all these things without the followers. I monetize better than some people with like 10 times my following. When you position yourself as a thought leader, brands are going to be more willing to pay you. People are going to invest in you because it's not just, oh, I'm sharing my life, look at me. It's, I have value to add and here's why. Impressions are not created equal.
Today on That One Time, I'm joined by Piper Phillips. Piper is a New York-based content creator. She documents her experience going from a director of marketing role in her early 20s into a full-time, six-figure content creator. This episode focuses on the tactics of content creation, how to live a good life, and much more. If you like this episode and want to support the podcast, I will ask one small favor. Please subscribe. It helps us more than you could ever imagine. And as this show grows, the guests grow and the production grows, and we can give back to the amazing community that we're growing. Thank you. And I hope you enjoy this episode with Piper Phillips. Piper, at just 23, you made the bold decision to quit your traditional job and have since become a full-time content creator, earning over $100,000 a year. Can you share with us what motivated that leap and how you managed to build such a successful career already with a niche audience?
Thank you. First of all,
No worries.
I had a great job. I loved my job. I had my dream job. I was at a young age in my early 20s leading marketing for a VC-backed, nationally distributed beverage brand. I was presenting in board meetings with 60-year-old investors. Like that just doesn't happen. So I loved this job until one day I didn't. And I think we all have had feelings like that, where all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, this is no longer what I want to do. This is not serving me anymore. And I do not settle. I'm not someone that settles. And so when I realized I was unhappy, I started to make a plan of, okay, I know it's Christmas time. This was last Christmas. No one's really hiring right now, but I'm going to think about the kind of job I want. I'm going to start networking, start applying. And then once I get a new job, I'm going to quit. That lasted about a week. And I was like, actually, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. So at that point I was like making just enough to pay my rent with content. And I did not really have a backup plan, but I just had enough trust in myself where I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I quit the next day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have savings or were you just kind of like?
I did. I had enough savings where if I didn't have an income for the next couple months, I would be okay.
Okay.
But not enough savings where I didn't sweat a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the sweat helped to make you work harder and actually get somewhere with it?
Yes and no. So there's that popular phrase of burning the boats, right? You know what I'm talking about? You have to burn the I don't fully agree with that. I think you need to have a fire under your ass. You need to have something pushing you. But I believe that I create better from an area of abundance and peace and safety where I can be myself and be silly. And if I'm too stressed about money, then I can't tap into that. So there's like just enough of fear where I perform at an optimal level.
So if you were to redo it again, how much of a buffer would you give yourself?
I think I did it the exact same. I had a couple months of expenses and rent saved up where I was like, okay, if I don't like make another $1 for like 3 months, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But after that, we're going to be in some trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So 3 months is good. I'm a bit conservative and I have like 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
But
well, that was at the time when I quit.
Yeah.
Now, I think it was at the time it was necessary to give me a little pressure.
Yeah, sure. For sure. And how did you know that the job was not for you anymore? Like run me through your thought process, your feelings at the time and what that resulted in.
I went from being really excited to go to work and I went from being really excited to go to work and couldn't wait, Sunday night to get back into it Monday morning to dreading it, to feeling a pit in my stomach, of having that calendar, like the meeting on the calendar, seeing that, my stomach drop. Every time I got a Slack message, I wanted to like throw up. Yeah. And that feeling is really what was my first indicator. And the second thing was this cognitive dissonance of intellectually knowing I'm in my early 20s in New York. I know I'm smart. I know I'm talented. I know I have a great personality. Why am I staying in something that doesn't meet my standards?
Okay.
And then those two together.
So what was the catalyst to go, you know what? This doesn't meet my standards anymore, when you just said you loved it. So I don't understand how that just fell apart so quickly.
So It depends on different businesses, organizations. My situation, there were changes, right? I was at an early stage startup. When I started, we were employee number 7 and I was the first New York hire.
Okay.
By the time I left, I think we were 23 people. So an organization goes through a lot of changes. So it was just a combination of, management changes, just values, the way that we made decisions about allocating the marketing budget. I had a little bit of trouble with that at times. And it was just the feeling that I couldn't see a future there for myself anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it creeps up on you slowly. And then all of a sudden it hits you. It happened to hit me when I was standing in a mall in my hometown. And I got a Slack message and I just was like, oh my God, not this again. And I looked around and I saw all these people happy at Christmas time and they were shopping. And I was like, I'm usually one of those people happy at Christmas time and I am crying over a Slack message right now.
Yeah.
And I called my dad in the middle of the mall. My dad's a big supporter and role model of mine. And I was like, what do I do? He was like, just quit. He was like, he asked me 2 questions. He's like, do you have a foreseeable way to make money? Like, do you have an income that you can put your heart into and it'll work? And I'm like, yes. He's like, and do you have enough savings where you can pay your rent? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, then fucking quit. He was like, what are you doing? And so then he got me all fired up. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to quit right now. It's not good to make decisions when you're angry or emotional.
Yeah.
So I went to bed and then I woke up that same morning feeling that way. And then I quit.
Okay. Yeah. That's a lot of focus onto just a new direction because it's a big move.
It is a big move, but I really just think, Gary Vee and all the gurus say that when you're in your 20s, that it's the time to take the most risk.
Yeah.
Like I don't have dependents. It's just me I have to feed.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So speaking about abundance, you said that you work best from a place of abundance. How do you get to a place of abundance, especially in content creation?
Yeah. A place for abundance for me is when I have enough finances where I can pay my rent, where I'll know I'm not going to go hungry and have to stress about going to the grocery store. But it's also a mental feeling of certainty and hope, knowing that opportunities are coming in.
Okay.
That's when I feel the most abundant. Even in times where I might, maybe it's a week or 2 where I haven't gotten any paid deals, but great things are happening that make me happy and I feel like I'm making progress. That is that feeling of abundance, of knowing that like good shit's happening and things are rolling, the ball's rolling.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you do when you have those downtimes to keep your head strong?
Yeah, I'm figuring that out.
So what are you doing right now?
That's a hard one. I'm really big on journaling.
Yeah.
Just getting those negative emotions out. I know we're both Tony Robbins fans. You can just say as many affirmations as you want, but if you're not in a good headspace, if you don't feel it in your body, those affirmations are not going to break through. So in the times where I really feel like it's not going my way, I'll work out, I'll journal to get the negative stuff out, and then I'll focus on something else, like something that makes me happy. Because I'm no spiritual guru, but I've noticed in my life when I put too much pressure on something, it doesn't work out the way that I want.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you feel the same way, but it seems like you like to have your hand in lots of things at once too.
Yeah, I dabble.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tighten it up though.
Yes.
I think focus is more important. I've learned enough.
It definitely is a focus thing, but for me, it's also just like a reminder that I'm more than just one thing.
Yeah.
So if one part of my business, which when you're a content creator, like you're your business, when one part of my business isn't going well, I'll remember that I'm also a musician and I'm also a really good friend. And I'm also, like just more things than just one thing.
Yeah. I like Warren Buffett's got this 25-5 rule where he's basically like, write down the 25 things that you want to do with your time and your life. And then you can only pick 5 at any one time because you just don't have time to do anything else.
Do you know your 5 off the top of your head?
It's changing and developing, but right now it's content creation is the top pillar.
Okay.
So the podcast, short format, and you've seen like I'm putting out a lot. I'm making a consistent effort every day to edit, film, and upload a video. So that's like 2-hour block every single day right now. And then so it's that, and then it's health is the second priority because without a good healthy body and a healthy mind, the rest doesn't matter. So they're 2. And then relationships with friends, romantic, and like family. So putting in consistent energy and effort into all of those elements because again, there's no point having health, money, and no one to share it with. So that's 3. And then
I feel like you're kind of cheating. I feel like you're putting a lot of things into those categories. You're like, just relationships, romantic, family, friends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm gonna call you on this.
all right, my bad. Anyway, so like it's loose, and then just and then using the content, hopefully using the network and eyeballs from the content creation to improve business outcomes for like a startup that I might join or product I might launch. And that's kind of it.
That's awesome. That's it. Just all that.
Just all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I want to play basketball. So run me through what a content creation business looks like.
Mm-hmm. When you're a content creator, you are your business, you are your brand. So there's many things that go into that. First, it's like any marketing strategy, right? What are you trying to do? Who are you doing it for?
Yep.
You need to understand those things first. And so what goes into it, assuming you do it all yourself, which I do, I'm proudly self-managed.
Mm-hmm.
It's developing that personal brand. It's pumping out content. It's doing press, getting your name out there. It's building relationships. It's figuring out where you want to go long-term. It's like making connections. It's making sure your mental health is okay. And of course it's getting paid. So it's finding paid opportunities and negotiating those opportunities, which is really important part of it.
Yeah. So have you found, as you've slowly built your following, so you started off on TikTok first and that's moved into Instagram and partially LinkedIn. Has that been the flow?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So run me through how TikTok developed, what techniques you undertook to go to TikTok first, and then why you've shifted to Instagram and LinkedIn now.
Yeah, so I was in this brand management practicum course with this professor I mentioned whose daughter is a full-time influencer.
Yeah.
And we had a little mini segment in the branding class on personal branding. And I remember just being like, this is really interesting. And so she gave me her personal copy of this book. And she was like, I think you would love this book. I really think you would. I read it in a day. It's called Known by Mark Schaefer.
Yeah.
And it's an argument for building a personal brand. Even if you don't want to be a public figure, his argument is that everyone should be intentional about building a personal brand.
Yeah.
And one of the exercises is it's like, think about what you're good at, what your friends ask you about, and pick a platform and put it there. And I was like, well, I hate Instagram because it's like my fake high school friends that Facetune their photos. Like I didn't like it.
Okay.
And YouTube seems like a lot of work. So I was like, okay, TikTok, video. I'm good at camera, I think. And then it was like, what do your friends ask you advice about? And I wanted it to be marketing professional related. And I was like, well, everyone always asks me about networking and meeting people and putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
So my first content that I did was networking and relationship building advice for LinkedIn that I posted on TikTok.
Yeah. That's a very specific niche.
It is very specific. And that was, like the advice du jour was pick one thing and stay in it.
Yeah. Would you say you have a wide interest base of what you like to do and experience?
For me now?
Just generally?
Yes, totally. That's one of the reasons why I transitioned only from posting business advice to broadening it and sharing more of my life.
So how did you pick the niche if you've got such a wide interest?
I am the niche.
Well, when you started,
true.
because before you can do that now because you've got some people that are interested in you, but before that you couldn't. But you were specific on one thing, even though you like a lot of things.
When you start, think about what's the lowest barrier to entry. What can you just do that's going to be low lift, that's going to get you interested in starting to make content, and just go for it, crank it out, find a repeatable strategy because you're going to see results that way, and then you're going to stay more motivated. So think of what you're good at and what your friends ask you for advice about and start there.
How often were you posting?
I was posting in 2021 once a day.
Yeah.
And I think I hit like 10,000 followers from that over the course of half a year. And then I stopped posting for an entire year.
Yeah.
Because I was doing an internship at a very well-known fashion company and they told me to stop posting.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, how much was the lift on, how much work was the once a day posting? So what was that routine like?
It was pretty succinct. I would sit at my desk and I would have ideas and I would just crank them out. Yeah. And when you're feeling inspired, from my experience, you can crank out like 5 or 6 videos. So then boom, you're done for the week.
Okay. So you would sit down every day and you would make an effort to do a bit of work almost every day on it. But the days that it sucked, you just would kind of sit there for a bit and leave. But the days you're inspired, you would bang it out as long as you can until you run out of energy.
Exactly.
Okay.
When you feel those bursts of inspiration, like go for it. Cancel whatever else you're doing.
Yeah.
Because some days it is going to suck.
Yeah,
you feel like I have nothing to say.
Yeah, for sure. I get that.
Yeah.
And tell me about when you got your first brand deal and how that played out and what you learned from it.
Okay, so this was a really pivotal moment because it made me realize that there was actually opportunity to do this full time and it could be financially stable. And I'm going to not so coyly grab my coffee here.
Was that tactical?
No, it actually wasn't. It's just a really authentic brand partnership.
Sure.
I posted this video about my mom and my dad and their relationship. It was a 10-second video. And my mom and I were landing on a plane and she got a text from my dad and it said, "Do you want your oat milk latte when I pick you up, waiting for you?" And that is my family's love language. Like, we love Starbucks. And so I posted that on the internet with the tagline of like, to be known is to be loved. Love is really about the little things. That video blew up.
I think I saw that video.
You think you?
Yeah, I saw that video.
Before we met?
Yesterday.
That's yesterday. It got 60 million views. Like, totally blew up. People were fighting over what love is, basically. And People Magazine reached out to me and they wanted to do an exclusive interview about it. So I talked with them about my family and the way that they've been role models for me in love. And in that interview, I was very purposeful about this because I know that my family goes to Starbucks, but in the original organic viral video, nowhere did it say Starbucks. Okay. But when that reporter at People Mag asked me, I said verbatim, "Starbucks is my family's love language." And I knew
was
what
it
I
actually
was doing.
Starbucks?
Yes,
Yeah, okay,
it was Starbucks.
Yeah.
This is all true.
Yeah.
But it was a long term. I was thinking in the long game, right?
Nice.
This was like a PR move. So of course, once that comes out, I get a message from Starbucks.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we love this. Like, can we send you a package?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can send me a package, but actually, can I have the contact of your marketing director instead?"
Really?
Yes. And so my family grew up walking to Starbucks, biking to Starbucks. That was just our thing when we would visit our grandparents.
Yeah.
We had this one location my whole family would walk to. It was just like a very true, cheesy, heartwarming thing we would do. And so I got in contact with the marketing team and I made this proposal to them of, this is a real true story of how your brand has impacted my life. I would love to share it. And so I made a pitch deck for them with the idea. I made it turnkey, very easy for them to say yes. They said yes. I filmed it. It was my first 5-figure deal.
Wow. So how many followers did you have at that time?
60,000.
On TikTok?
Yeah.
And not much on Instagram?
Nothing on Instagram.
Got it.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good one. That one, I was like, oh shit.
Okay. And how much did you make out of curiosity?
12,000.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of effort and energy that went into that moment. So
yeah, it was.
Good.
I know it was definitely deserved, but just
and it was one video?
It was one video.
A short form video?
It was two, but one was more extravagant. That was getting my whole family to walk there. And the other one was just me in my kitchen yapping.
You're like, "Dad, I'll give you $10.
I know. My parents were like, "So what's
Do we
our
get 20%?
cut?" I'm like, "Your cut is sleeping soundly knowing your daughter can pay her rent for 6 months. Okay. Like, how about that?"
That's so funny.
So yeah.
That's so good. So cool. Okay. So I'd love to see that pitch deck. Can you send that to me sometime?
I can, yeah.
I'd be so
it's
curious.
pretty good.
I'm gonna have to model your your website skills.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I was like, fuck, I really need to do mine.
Well, thank you. It's all marketing.
It is all
branding.
marketing. Yeah, for sure. You mentioned before that you need to figure out who you're doing your content for if you're a content creator. So how did you figure out who you were doing your content for and who are those people?
The people I do my content for, my target market, is a version of me 6 years ago.
Okay.
Who maybe wasn't exposed to the same opportunities. So I want my audience to think of me as their like cool, smart, older friend who kind of has her shit together. She's not perfect.
Do you feel like you have your shit together?
No, she's not perfect. Well, yes, I do, but she's not perfect, and she'll tell you when shit hits the fan. But just someone who you can learn a little bit from, but isn't perfect. So I think of a version of myself from years ago, and that's who I'm talking to.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to jump back a little bit, and actually, how did you get to the point where you figured out that person? Like, how did you figure out that this was who I wanted to focus on? Or did it just naturally feel like the right thing because it was you and you know what you needed at that time?
It was natural, and then it was intentional.
Okay.
So when I started posting videos, I just A/B tested, did what felt right. And then when I was like, I want to scale this and take it to the next level, I started to get more intentional about, okay, I don't really know what to post today, but I know that my audience is this version of me years and years ago. And what did I need to know at that time?
Yeah.
And then you can make content that way.
Did you map that out very like critically? Like, did you sit down for a few days and just like bang it out? Or were you just like floating around these ideas in your head?
Not a few days. It's happened at multiple points in this journey.
Yeah.
Where at moments where I'll feel stuck, I'll go back to the drawing board and reevaluate that. And really think, what do I want to be known for, and who do I want to help?
Yeah.
So it's not a thing you just do once.
Yeah,
I think you keep doing it.
Okay. Yeah. And is that like an intentional half a day I'm sitting there and I'm writing it out, or are you just like living your life and you're like, oh, that's a good idea, chuck it in my notes?
I'm like not very good at routine. I have some organizational problems, but it's because I work really well when I get these moments of inspiration.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is a period of 6 hours, sometimes is 2 weeks. Like, and when I feel that energy, then I just go for it and I do it.
Yeah.
Granted, you have to be disciplined in the moments where you don't feel that energy, but I don't make big life decisions. I don't revamp strategy unless I'm actually feeling it.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So thank you for sharing all of that. You seem like you have a really solid direction, a really solid base in your life with your family and everything. So I'd love to understand, the context of you growing up, so that we can understand you as a person and the decision making that we now see.
Yeah. I love my family. We're very, very close. I was raised by my parents. My dad's a lawyer. The first of his family to go to college, really came from no education, no financial literacy, figured it out all himself. He's a huge role model for me. He's an attorney and also invests in real estate. And then my mom is a dentist, so she's also a great career role model. She's very patient, very kind. I'm more like my dad. My dad has this up and down energy, this loudness to him. But they're a really great pair, and they're very in love, and it's been very great to see. And then I have two younger brothers. One of them, the youngest one, is also very fiery like me and my dad, and my other brother is more like my mom. He's a little bit calmer. He's an investment banker. Like, he's a little bit more German. So my mom's from Germany. She was born there.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Nice. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in a Chicago suburb.
Okay.
Yes. And then I went to Indiana University for school. So I'm a Midwest girl.
Yeah. And what did you study?
Marketing and international business.
Okay. And did you find that played any positive role in your content creation now?
Oh my God. Yeah, totally. I am so thankful for my business background. When I went to school, I thought I was going to do the whole big corporate thing. I wanted to do marketing for BMW or a fashion brand. And then I realized, also from my dad, that I didn't really have a desire to work for someone. Sometimes that's necessary to learn. I do think so. But yeah, that was my vision in school, was this whole corporate thing. And now I realize I don't want that. But what I learned in school was invaluable. Like, I think of myself as a solopreneur. Like, everything that I learned, like just business law, how to read contracts, how to negotiate, how to set a marketing strategy, I wouldn't be able to do this all myself if it wasn't for that education. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good. So if you were to go back, do you think you would move into this game earlier?
I mean, we can play that game all day, right? Like the coulda, shoulda, woulda. I wish I would have started earlier. I wish I would have said F you to that HR woman who told me to stop posting.
Oh, true.
Because that's tough. That was a big company. I was really excited to get that internship. Now, and by the time I was halfway through that internship, it was clear to me I didn't even want to work for that company full time anymore. And I stopped posting because they kind of told me to do that.
What did they say?
They were very nice. They were like, she was like, I love your content, but just so you know, like, we have a social media policy. And I go, I know, I read the social media policy. It's no defamation or confidentiality. Like, I know how to read a contract. But I was 19. And so I was still scared. You get brought in by HR at this huge luxury company, get your wrist slapped. And it just put such a bad taste in my mouth. So I was like, okay. And she's like, I love your content, but you know, it's a liability. We can't have people posting. Cause I think I posted like day in the life at blah, blah, blah. But it really made me sad. And so I stopped for a year. And then I moved to New York and I started seeing all of the opportunities that people were getting from posting content. And I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think the value of content is in 2024 and 2025?
It's
for brands and for the creators.
For a creator, it can open every single possibility in the entire world. If you're a content creator and you're successful, it's a fast track to multi-million ARR business, right? If you want to be a model, can get you on Sports Illustrated, even though maybe technically you don't have a model figure, you know what I mean? Or traditional experience. If you want to, anything you want to do, it can open doors. Look at, for example, Addison Rae having a music career now. She would not have had that if it wasn't for content. Like content can open every single door.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah. And then for the brands that they work with, the creators work with?
Yeah. For brands, content can make you seem more human, you know? And so humans relate better to humans.
Yeah.
And so a corporation investing in content using, you know, content creators or having in-house social media managers that are more forward facing, it makes brands feel more likable.
Okay. So strategically with a brand, just say you've got a brand and you're doing the usual like posting, you know, things that aren't going well, but you're seeing all these companies just like putting some random Gen Z like in the front of the brand. What do you think the pros and cons of that are?
I don't think it's for every brand, honestly. There are some brands where I'm like, do you need to be posting on this platform? Is it really doing anything? Yes and no. It's keeping you top of mind for a Gen Z audience. So I think there's value to that. But I think it depends what industry you're on, how much you should invest in it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like there's somewhere it's like, okay, these are just random comments that are getting likes. And it's like, sure, is that going to impact your bottom or top line? No.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm thinking about you now and I wasn't before.
Yeah. I've seen quite a lot of like content on TikTok, especially where it's just like, you know, the dumbest thing ever. And it's just like this thing over the top that says, I told my manager that I'll get more views from this thing than anything else. And it gets like 10 million views or something stupid. But it's like, what is the point? And also I've noticed like a lot of brands are getting like a marketing person to come on and do the whole like stupid thing, like create like, you know, viral groups that get around content. And then it's like, what happens when that person quits? That is literally what happens.
There's such a liability. Well, I mean, that is kind of not to like, when I quit my company, that was a thing that they needed to address because
you were that person.
I was creating content for the company and I was the person hustling to bring the drink into New York events.
Yeah.
I hired someone below me to also do that, but I had, you know, multiple people come up to me and be like, I bet the brand misses you.
Oh, really?
Like I'm not seeing them at any New York Fashion Week events anymore.
Oh shit.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, that's how it is when you have one person that does that forward facing stuff. It's not enough. I think a company needs to diversify and not put all their eggs in one basket.
That's actually an interesting point. So maybe when if like someone that owns a company that wants to approach this strategy of having someone in front of the camera, maybe to do it you have to have 3 creators.
Yeah.
Like you start with 3 because then you've got redundancies and it like gets a few people.
Yes.
On the page.
Or create a character. I know that's kind of overplayed at this point, but like Duolingo was so smart to do that in the beginning.
I don't understand. Run me through that.
Do you know Duolingo?
I know Duolingo, but I don't know.
Okay, so they created this owl persona and it's a suit and it was just like stupid stuff that they were posting.
So they posted someone in an owl suit.
Yes, it's a huge green foam owl and they
TikTok.
have like 10 million followers or something.
That's great. Well, yeah, that solves that problem, doesn't it?
Because you can put anyone in that suit once the strategy's
Have they always had the
set.
owl as the logo?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so someone came up with a really good idea there.
Yeah. Yeah. So that something like that where you can just kind of figure out your own thing. Or having, of course, like the leadership involved, like Poppy was very building in public founder focus, you know, the drink.
Yeah.
The CEO, Allison, like she's still in the content to this day, but it also shows the team as they've grown. So different ways to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. The building in public is an interesting one too. I've I think it's great for a startup company that doesn't have, bigger budgets. But then once you become more mature, I think it doesn't really serve as well. Yeah. So there's a tipping point where the like build in public becomes maybe a liability more than a benefit.
Yeah, I don't think... I think we're also trending as an audience towards wanting higher quality content.
Yeah,
like
again.
The pendulum swung, right? Like it was TikTok 2021 where it was like, oh, I just want to like see from your couch with low grainy video. And now people hopefully want this, you know, they want like beautiful aesthetic studios. They want career. Oh my God, I can't speak. They want clear, crisp audio and video. So I think the pendulum's swinging in the other way, where companies are investing into higher production value.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I've had this experience because I had previously ran, but in Australia I was running an event and festival company.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did that for like 6 to 8 years, and we focused on like high quality after movies, and like my videographer that I would use for most videos, he's like one of the top guys in like a massive independent promotional company that does like Ed Sheeran and Fred again, and he got asked to go to Canada for sure, and just like crazy stuff. Anyway, he'd do the videos for me because we were friends, we went to high school together, and he just like helped me out. And these are like top end videos. We put them up on TikTok and Instagram. They get no views. No one gives a fuck.
5 views?
No one gives a fuck. But what I found was when I was pitching to, local governments saying, hey, can I use this plot of land right by the ocean, that public land, and they're like, who are you? And I go, here's 3 or 4 past shows I've done, and it's top end, well done, very like high quality. It builds trust.
Oh, totally.
Like the higher quality builds more trust, I think, as a company. But then there's also the value of like creating a relationship through raw and authentic stuff. I think there's a fine line, but I think you need both to do it really well.
I love that because I agree with you. I think it's both, and it also varies by platform. Yeah. So on TikTok, a lot of stuff I'll post is kind of still just raw in the moment, talking to the camera, like on my couch. And sometimes that's what resonates the most. Yeah. And I know on Instagram, it's more like the professional curated things that do work better. Yeah. Like I posted that I was like on that TV show yesterday, and on Instagram it got huge reception, like hundreds of comments, people loving it. And on TikTok it was like, meh. Like it's just the audience has different expectations of what they're going to see on different platforms.
Yeah. I wonder if there's like a way to recreate the same video, but being like kind of stupid about it. Or just like just using TikTok as an example, like you do that thing and instead of the whole B-roll, voiceover thing, you go, you'd get your camera and go, hey guys, can I just put my phone here on Amy's thing and be like, you know what I mean? Like something stupid to take, and maybe they'll get around it, and it's like 10 seconds and then you cover it, and it's like, wow, that was great. I think that's probably a way to approach it, because I'm thinking about this too.
Because with this, right?
I have 0 TikTok following whatsoever. Like I've had a couple of videos go viral, but like nothing relevant to anything.
And that doesn't really translate into a community.
Yeah,
like
it doesn't
you
do anything.
can't like the virality feels great for the ego.
Yeah.
But I've had videos that
at least I knew I wasn't shadow banned.
At least you know
I was like, I swear to God, maybe I'm shadow banned and my content doesn't.
That's just
my
not
content
true.
sucks.
Yeah. Isn't that like a nice little slap in the face when that happens? I get that way too. And I've actually had times where my account actually was restricted, and I was like, okay, this is validating. But sometimes you're just like, you gotta adapt.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the different platforms that you mentioned, there are some major differences between like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn, etc. So I'd love to actually really break down the parameters that you think about when you're creating content on each of those different pillars, and what you're noticing works, what you're noticing doesn't work, and like specific strategies for each one. So
guys, I'm gonna eat the microphone to say this for emphasis. Post video on LinkedIn. I, full disclaimer, am a LinkedIn partner because I've been talking about them for years, and they finally emailed me, and I was like, okay, full circle. Yeah. They are pushing their video feature. Like this is the early adoption time. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not a business creator. I don't like blah, blah. If you have a job, or if you're an entrepreneur, if you do anything creative, you have some kind of business portion. the video impressions on LinkedIn right now are crazy.
Yeah.
Like I will take a video and I'll post it.
The same video on Instagram?
Yes, on Instagram and TikTok, and it'll get like, I don't know, like average maybe like around 10K views, which I'm like, oh, okay. And I will get like 13 million views on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
Like
okay.
it's crazy. So if you want to be an early adopter, which I always think is good for different platforms and technological advances, definitely do LinkedIn video. And TikTok and Instagram Reels, I'm seeing a lot more consistency on Instagram Reels. Okay. I don't know. Are you seeing the same?
I mean, I've only just really started on this. So like I just made this call like to really focus on posting every day like a month ago.
Okay. Yeah,
it's like very new. So I don't know.
I would say, well, if you're in that stage, anyone listening, post on everything. Yeah, just repurpose.
I'm definitely being a bit lazy on the repurposing. Yeah. But like it's all the same piece of content, but it's like, okay, once I get one thing down pat, then it's like, okay, maybe I can improve and change up X or.
And I'll do that often. I'll post a video on TikTok that I'll make 1 minute and 1 second because it needs to be over a minute to be monetizable. Right. And then on Reels, sometimes I'll notice the shorter videos will do better. So then I'll go to CapCut and cut that baby down to like 25 seconds and then post it on Reels.
Yeah, right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So digging into it. So you've got, let's just start with Instagram. So what are you tackling content wise for Instagram?
So I encourage everyone to do this. Come up with like a bio, a thesis statement. And it's not the same as your mission. My mission is separate, but just some kind of like tagline that makes it really clear to your audience and to you in your head. And it doesn't need to make sense to other people, but like mine is a little bit business, a little bit fun.
Yeah.
That's my bio on everything. And people are like, what does that mean? It's what it sounds like. I post a little bit business things, career, like serious things like that. And then also a little bit fun. So it can be my adventures in New York City or my family or my boyfriend. So having that dialectical that's like my overarching thing. Yeah. And then on Reels, I will just post things that fall into one of those two categories.
Okay. And you've mentioned in the past, like behind the camera, like voiceover and stuff is working better.
Yes. On Reels, I love doing voiceover. And on TikTok, honestly, too. Like it changes up and down. But I am seeing TikTok talking to the camera works better. Whereas on Instagram, I love doing the Reels and the voiceovers. Those perform pretty well consistently.
Okay. And then with TikTok, you're focusing on?
Yeah, TikTok, I either post something where I post it and I'm like, I know this is going to go viral just because of human nature. Or I post it like something that it's like, it doesn't tell the audience about me or it doesn't have a connection, but it's something like, it's something educational of value where it's like a new thing in New York that I want to post or something hilarious and relatable. Those things are likely to go viral, but they're not going to build a connection with your audience. So that feels good when those videos blow up view wise, but then I'll make another type of video where in my head, I'm like, this might not get, even that many views, but whoever watches it is getting to know me and to build a relationship. And
so you do a bit of both.
I do a bit of both. And those videos oftentimes convert better into followers too.
Sure. And then YouTube Shorts?
I'm kind of bad at that. I know I should be reposting it. I've had YouTube creators tell me, well, the followers that come from YouTube Shorts are not the same loyal followers that come from long form YouTube content.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm like, well, what's the point then?
Money?
I guess. I don't know.
I mean, it pays.
I think
well.
you need to get like 100K to be able to monetize, right?
10,000.
Oh, 10,000? Oh, okay. Yeah. Maybe I will start on that. Yeah. Thank you.
LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, yeah. I love LinkedIn.
So run me through what your strategy around LinkedIn content is. So you've made one video concept.
Anything that I can have some kind of a professional emphasis on, I will post. For example, a silly video, Halloween. Me and my boyfriend went to go buy a pumpkin in the West Village to carve a pumpkin. And the pumpkin was $40.
Yeah,
$40. You saw it. And so I posted like the long version of that on TikTok, just us being silly and like bitching about the pumpkin and then going home and carving it and being all cute in our little apartment. And then I was like, wait, well, this is actually kind of a valid point about the crazy cost of living in New York City. So then I edited that video, cut out some of like the cute personal stuff and just made it more about like, wow, the cost of living in New York is crazy. And then I posted that version of the video on LinkedIn.
And how'd that go?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. And then YouTube long form. I know you've only really done like one video.
I don't really touch that.
Yeah.
I want to start a series of sorts. I know we've talked about that. And so I would love to do long form content because I really do think you can connect with an audience better, but I will need to invest a sum of money into editing that because I will not be doing that.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, from my experience talking with, a lot of creators so far, long form YouTube does get a really high intent fan base if you build it up, and that I think comes from people being very intentional with the work, the pressing of this video for this specific point, and then like investing a significant chunk of time into watching it versus like being fed to an algorithm, like just scrolling, like there's not as much like intent.
True. That's so, yeah. No, I'm not your girl to speak on about that. So I'm going to need to like listen to your podcast episodes with people who actually know what the hell they're doing with YouTube.
There's a few bangers with one with a guy called Brett Conti is coming out soon.
Cool.
Big creator, nearly 1 million followers on YouTube.
Wow.
Jordan Tawali is a travel vlogger who's got like 2.7 million.
Nice.
This tomorrow or whenever, Pernilla is a fitness creator. She's probably got a couple 100,000, and there's been a bunch. We've done it with a bunch. So
Good. I'm gonna be taking notes.
Feel free to get around it. So for people who don't have, your TikTok has a reasonable following, but your Instagram's still very early stages, right? But you're in a position, and I say that with complete respect, of course. Like,
of course, it's all relative.
You know what I mean? It's all relative.
It's like all, yeah.
But there's a bit of like value in understanding how you can then create a significant career and like a lifestyle that's reasonable off the back of what a lot of people might say is like, you see millions of followers, hundreds of thousands of followers. You don't need it. Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to get an understanding of like the people who don't really have a big following, but maybe have a non-trivial following. What like three tips you have on like landing brand deals and beginning to make this into an actual, side hustle or even a main thing?
I don't want to say 3 tips, but I have a lot to say on this.
Just say all of it then. Don't worry about the tips.
Okay. The tips will come through.
Okay.
Your ability to build. Wait, hold on. Now I'm like, when you said something at the beginning, I was like ready to jump on it. Can you just say it again?
So I just said, for those listening who don't have like a large following but want to pass.
Yes.
Basically, the question was for those who listening don't have a large following but want to follow a path similar to yours, become a full-time content creator, without a significant following, like 10,000, 15,000, even 5,000. Like I got my first brand deal at 5,000.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which isn't much.
People think it's about the followers. It's not always about the followers. You can monetize successfully. You can speak on panels, you press appearances. You can do all these things without the followers. I transparently monetize very well. I monetize better than some people with like 10 times my following, honestly.
Why?
Because I have been intentional about building a personal brand in a niche that's valuable and positioning myself as a thought leader.
Yeah.
So I go on and I speak on panels about personal branding. And when you position yourself as a thought leader, then brands are going to be more willing to pay you. People are going to invest in you because it's not just, I'm sharing my life, look at me. It's, I have value to add and here's why.
Yeah.
So if you want to start getting paid, like, position yourself in a way where you're adding value versus just saying, look at me.
Yeah.
And when you think about it that way, the money will come better.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the followers, because building a community, one view is not the same as one view. Like impressions are not created equal.
So what's an example of that?
Yeah. Okay. For example, I have around, 120,000 followers in total. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there are people with a lot more than that, but I have had major brand partnerships, Starbucks, L'Oreal, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great example because LinkedIn is doing influencer marketing and they want to raise awareness about the platform for networking, knowledge, etc. They have only a select amount of creators that they could work with.
Yeah.
So they're not playing the game of, we want the top New York creators with the largest number of followers. They want people who align with their brand values and what they offer as a brand. And I fit that perfectly. Yeah. I talk about personal growth. I talk about networking. So because I set myself up that way, not to put words in their mouth, but they're working with me because of that positioning. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So how did that end up playing out?
The LinkedIn partnership? I organically started posting about LinkedIn, cold networking, warm intros, like all that good networking stuff. And
on LinkedIn or just on all socials?
I posted on TikTok when I started my TikTok. Here's how to reach out to someone on LinkedIn to get your internship. Like that's what I would say. Yeah. So I've been posting about them for years, like literally 2 years. And then I got an email from them, I don't know, like 2 months ago. Yeah. And I jumped up and down and was happy. And now,
that's so fun.
Yeah, I have a long-term partnership with them, have spoken on panels for them. So it's a great relationship.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Just quickly though, I love doing this podcast. If it's positively impacted you in some way and you would like to support us, please subscribe. By subscribing, it allows us to build a much bigger base of listeners, which results in better guests, better production, and a better show overall. Alternatively, please take a look at the affiliate links of the products that I use and love in the comments below and consider purchasing using those links. They'll give you a discount and they'll also provide the podcast a small kickback. These are two very easy ways for you to support us as we continue to grow the podcast that we absolutely love doing. Thank you for your support, and now back to the episode. The next thing I was going to ask you is I wanted to dig into all of this is probably the important thing. Wait, did you want to touch on anything more on the what was the last question? Kind of like building into a content creation career without a massive following?
Yeah. I also think it's about how intentionally you manage yourself, okay? And knowing how to build your brand and how to make it known. So real quick, a lot of creators will work with talent managers or agencies. And when they have people reach out to them, they think that's a sign of success. And all due respect, there are some really great talent management agencies out there, but most people do not need a manager early on. Like I know people with under 10,000 followers and they're like, I have a manager. I'm like, you were giving away money for no reason. And so I think if you are intentional about how you pitch yourself, how you build relationships with people directly, you're going to be top of mind, and that's how you're going to get the money, right? It's not always about who has the best followers, blah, blah, blah. It's people in PR and marketing are people, and we make business decisions based on relationships. So if you build that relationship directly, you're also going to be able to monetize better.
So when do you think it's going to be appropriate to work with management companies?
Well, this was a great subtle plug because I'm actually building a course right now to help people manage themselves, because you don't really need to know that much. You just need to know how to communicate with people, how to pitch people, how to read a basic contract, like things like that. So it's up to you. If you work a full-time job and you want a manager to pitch you, that's great. But I think unless you're like huge, like BC level celebrity status, I really don't think people need managers.
Fair enough. So moving into the next part of this, it flows on around putting yourself out there in a space where you don't necessarily feel like you're ready for it. But so let's talk about imposter syndrome. Because going, into full-time content creation from a job, how have you overcome self-doubt? What were you feeling at the time? And how do you share that with your audience?
Yeah, it's up and down. Being a content creator, it's so emotionally draining at times, I'm sure you know, because startup founders, at least there's a separation between you and your business, right? I know it doesn't feel like that probably sometimes. They're like, it's my baby, but your business is a separate entity. When you're a content creator, your business is you.
Yeah.
So if things aren't going well, it's really hard not to take it personally. So that sucks to say, but I think it builds emotional resilience, and you have to intentionally work to separate it. So I know that my worth doesn't come from how many followers I have or how many blah, blah, blah. Like you need to
Wait, what are you talking about? When I have 10,000 followers, I'll be loved finally.
Oh, only 10,000 for you?
Yeah, that's enough.
Oh, that's a low bar.
That's enough. Whoa. Okay. Sorry, I digress. Continue.
No. I love it. You need to get your worth from somewhere else, okay? Because
20,000 followers.
I'm like, at 1 million, I'll be happy. No, because you can play that game. We're joking, but it's actually really fucking serious.
Yeah.
Because you can get on that hedonistic treadmill of like, oh, well, then I'll be happy. No, you just have to go into it and be like, this is a business. Good things take time. We've been really I don't know what the right word is. We've been lied to as a society of seeing people pop off overnight, and people think that that's normal, whether it's a creator that pops off overnight or a musician or a business. That's not normal. You don't see the years and years and years that go into it. So
I saw a crazy crazy post where one of my friends who's a DJ, you might know him, his name's Benson. Anyway, he's an Australian DJ, lives in LA.
Okay.
He posted this video, this thing on Instagram that I saw, and it was like 5 or 10 different artists and when they first released music to when they took off. And it was like 8 years, 10 years, 7 years, 5, and then there was like one of them that was like 2.5.
That's not normal. Yeah.
And I was like, and then his caption was just like, keep going, you create, to all my creative friends, just keep going. And I was like, yeah, damn.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
so
like Shabuzi before he blew up was like 8.5 years or something. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think that.
You just have to believe in yourself so much. It's like, it's the most cliche thing. To your imposter syndrome point, now that my long-winded answer is finally making its way back home, I still feel that way. Like, it's hard at sometimes to not compare yourself in an industry that's like this, right? Like sometimes I do get those moments of like, what? Like, do I deserve this? Or am I actually, do I deserve to be in this room? Yes.
What do you do when you get those questions?
I think about all the good things that I've done and the cool things that I've achieved and things I've gotten over and decisions I've made that I'm proud of. Like, I just focus on that and what I'm grateful for. And gratitude usually overcomes any of those negative emotions.
Do you think you have to be a little bit delusional to
totally
to make success in this world?
You have to be so crazy. Every content creator, artist, startup founder, I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because you have to, because we're not built to be independent like that. You go to school and you're taught to be a good employee.
Yeah,
like
that's the point of.
That's the point.
We can get into
really get into that.
The point of school and where it came from and like.
Yeah, like school is not the only type of education. And I remember my dad made me and my brothers read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
You know, that book classic when we were like 14. And it just really early on, I was like, I'm not going to work for the man. I don't want people to tell me what to do. I don't want to have to like beg for PTO. Like I'm not fucking doing that. So I had this realization of like, no matter how hard it is, I have to make it work.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've not really worked a job at all my whole life.
Really? Ever?
Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, maybe I need a job. New York's expensive.
Relatability.
I'm like, New York's expensive. This shit's crazy. And then I kind of have come to this conclusion of like, fuck it. I'm like, guys, I'm really hyped up right now because I came back from a 4-day Tony Robbins seminar, if you can't tell. But it's so true. You hit what your standards are. Yeah.
Like the stuff I'm doing right now, sometimes I have to pinch myself because I'm so ambitious and driven that sometimes I get in the state of actually not being grateful and just being focused on the future only because of the goals. And you have to remember to reflect, to look back for a second and just say thank you and wow, okay, I'm on the right track.
Yeah. There's something interesting that also I've noticed. When I moved here in May, I had I didn't really have a massive plan. I was DJing a bit. I invested in some bars and it's kind of like, we'll figure it out. Yeah. It's now nearly December and something that I've started a side hustle that I never thought of. I didn't think this would exist, but basically I'm working with, because of the podcast and because of, being in front of camera and building those skills, I'm now getting paid by marketing and content agencies to do street interviews in New York. And it's like, that is the most niche thing ever, but it's so fun.
New York.
It's so fun. Like, I'm getting paid to do that.
Yes.
I'm like, I'll do this all day.
Any day. It's crazy. Well, that's why I can get on my New York high horse. I fucking love it here because things exist here that don't exist anywhere else.
You can't do that anywhere else in the world.
And it's like when people would be like, what's your dream job? My like favorite answer starting from 3 years ago was, I want to be paid to be myself. Which is the most obnoxious answer ever, but it's true.
That's kind of what you're doing.
And you can, thank you. And you can do it here. I think anyone can do it here.
Yeah. So that was funny.
That's
so
hilarious.
You never really know what's going to happen.
No, you never know what happens in the city.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been here, 6 months now?
Yeah,
so you know that.
Yeah. I'm starting.
Crazy.
So we did speak earlier about like your splitting your personal and professional life and kind of
Boom.
and getting your self-worth detached from
Yes.
the work you do, even though you are the product. So how are you juggling your relationship, your, what you share with an audience, what you keep private, like what is the framework in your head, and maybe like some examples of when it's gone bad?
I have no problem sharing everything.
What's the downside of that?
You open yourself up to vulnerability about anything, something that you might not have thought was an issue. Someone can nitpick it and be like, oh, and then you're like, oh, well, now I have a new insecurity. I didn't even think about that. Okay. So that's one thing. I have no problem sharing everything. My family doesn't necessarily share that sentiment. My boyfriend doesn't necessarily share that sentiment.
So how do you juggle that?
So I think it's just knowing the boundaries of people. And my boyfriend's great. He's so supportive. He's the best. And he is in my content a lot. But he'll at times be like, hey, can we not record this? Or like, can we just be in the moment? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Okay.
So you just have to you need to know the boundaries of the people that you love, that you're around. I also like to keep some things just for myself. I've heard that advice and I never really understood it.
What's an example? I mean, you have to get into it, of course, given the context. But
some examples it's even just moments. It's even going to dinners or experiences or concerts where I'm like, wait, I'm not getting paid to talk about this right now. And I'm not really inspired or want to talk about this right now. So I'm just going to be in the moment and I'm just going to enjoy it. And that feels really good. And it's funny because there's been some moments where I look back at my camera roll and I'm like, I have no pictures from that. And I'm like, good. Okay. That's fine. I bet I had a great time.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I did a recent 6 months in New York thing and it took a while to go through all the content, but I was like, I've done so much more. I don't take videos.
I, in the beginning of my content career, would say yes to everything and I would film everything and then I make a video about everything. And that was great and it served me in the time. I'm way more particular about it now.
Okay.
Unless my rule of thumb, right, is unless I'm getting paid for this or it could turn into a paid opportunity, likely, or I just want to do it, then I don't do it. It's one of those three things.
Yeah. How do you balance paid gigs now with just doing interesting things for your audiences that got you there in the first place? Yeah,
the interesting things just for your audience comes naturally because it's whatever you're excited about and passionate about. Yeah. So sometimes I don't plan it and sometimes I do plan it and that's great, but that feels effortless because it's fun. Do you know what I mean? Like your audience can tell when something's inauthentic. So it's like those moments where I'm having fun, they can tell, or I'm getting paid to do it. But I don't force myself to do stuff for no reason anymore. Yeah. That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It sounds like you're a big networker. It seems like you've got, a lot of that down pat on LinkedIn and you spoke about just reaching out to people specifically. So what are some effective strategies to build connections online and in person that you've noticed?
Yeah. Talk to everyone.
Yeah.
I'm painfully extroverted and I understand not everyone's like that, but extroverted versus introverted is just where you get your energy from. It's really not an excuse. So if you're shy, you got to get over that. You just have to.
Yeah.
It's those soft skills that really determine success in business relationships and first impressions. So just talk to people, say hi, smile, introduce yourself. Charisma is the number one factor that impacts how people perceive you. So work on that.
To a point, you have to deliver eventually.
No, that's actually science.
Eventually you have to deliver.
Eventually you do, but we're talking.
You can only get so far.
We're talking first impressions.
Yeah.
Because that's what opens the door. And then you could be the smartest person and really skilled, but if you don't connect with people, you're never going to get the chance to prove that you're smart and skilled.
Yeah.
So, wait, shit, what was the question?
Yeah, the question.
Oh, the networking. Okay, got it. So just make that first step, talk to people and don't be afraid of rejection. And then follow up and actually build the connection. So you can have a great first impression. You can meet them once, but then it's up to you to actually build that one-time meeting into a relationship.
Yeah.
So, simple things on LinkedIn, if you see someone got a new job, text them, send them an email, congratulations, ask about it, ask to get coffee. I love a good coffee chat. Yeah. Or if there's an opportunity or something made you think of someone, usually we keep those thoughts to ourselves. Don't keep that to yourself. Share it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I think I'd like to dig into some more kind of philosophical components of
I'm down.
Life and existence before we wrap up. So you spoke about finding so separating your happiness from the work you do. So what is happiness to you, and how have you begun to cultivate that in your life separate to your content creation?
You really wanted to dig in deep here. What is the meaning of happiness? Things that make me happy that are separate from content is anything where I feel like I'm growing, or where I feel like I can be really free.
Okay.
For me, in my work and in the business world, in corporate, whether you're self-employed, there's a lot of masculine energy. That's what's the standard for productivity and success.
Yeah.
And I had this moment of realization of that's actually not how I am. I'm not this like serious person. I can be very intense and very direct, but I also really like just being able to be free and happy and like tapping into that sensitivity, into that feminine energy. So just doing that and doing things that allow me to do that make me feel really good. And that's how I feel when I play music. I'm a musician. I play piano and sing weekly at Chelsea Living Room, a lounge in Chelsea. And that's something that I do just for me. Sometimes I post content about it, but when I do, it comes from a place in my heart.
Yep.
Yeah. Makes me happy.
I'd like to talk about the kind of feminine and masculine dynamic.
Let's dig into that more.
So what brought that up?
I would see the styles of the people I worked with. At my last job, I was the only woman on the management team, and the company was founded by former pro athletes. So
very like go, go, go.
You can imagine the culture of that was very ultra masculine, ultra push through, go, 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 hustle. Like the posters on the wall were like very like intense. The first office of the company was actually in a gym. So that kind of tells you, and there's nothing wrong with that. And they're not bad people. Like they were great people. I just want to make that really clear. But that didn't work for me. Yeah. And I started to realize that didn't work for me. Like things that they would say that were supposed to be encouraging felt really discouraging to me. And
what's an example?
Just like company-wide meetings, just the language that was used felt more discouraging to me, like very like high standards, like pushing, like things like that, where I would just sit back and roll my eyes because it just made me go like,
So like,
for example, like
I'd love to hear
company,
an example.
Every quarter we would have company goals, right? Like company-wide goals. The sales team, marketing, operations, like we would be given KPIs. And the KPIs were always very, very intense. And the CEO made a comment to me like directly privately and was like, I know these are like really ambitious, but you know, I think you guys can do them if you work really hard. And some of the stuff on there was insane. Like there's no way. Like one of them at the end was they wanted me and my one other marketing hire that worked under me to have an event in New York City every single day. That's not possible every day for a team of 2 people. So that was something where I'm like, why are we setting these goals that to some people that might be like, yeah, I'm going to hit it. To me, I was like, is this offensive? Like, are you telling me I'm not doing well enough? So that was an example of that. And that was clarified, but it's different styles of work. Whereas I cannot do the hustle porn grinding thing. Like I can't do that. And my boyfriend, I see him on his computer, he works in tech, and he can sit there for like 6 hours and just like grind through something and work and produce amazing output. I'm not like that. I produce really good creative work or just any work when I feel inspired, when I feel fresh, when I feel in my zone. Like that's when I create my best work. So by working at that culture that was very ultra masculine, I realized that's actually not how I work. And now that I work for myself, like I can design my schedule based on those hours.
So what's a good way that, you know, what would have given you more space to be in that corporate position, but also be like more in your feminine energy?
Playing music helped a lot. Doing something just for you. I did a dance Zumba class for a while, and it was like Rihanna and stuff, and like just doing that felt really good. So yeah, dancing was fun.
More like play.
Yeah,
like incorporating play.
Like let yourself play. When I was at Tony Robbins' seminar, you know, he's very about body activation. So like it's mind and body. So you're listening to a neuroscience lecture and then all of a sudden it's like, get up and dance. And you look around the room and there's these 50-year-old men that are really weirded out in the beginning because they haven't played or danced like that in ages.
Yeah.
And then, you know, day 3 of 4, you see people getting more comfortable and dancing. And it's just such a beautiful thing because everyone needs to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. So, next question on this philosophical world is, what is the biggest thing that over the last 2 years you've changed your mind on?
The way that I see myself has changed completely. I feel Piper 2024, I feel closer to my 16-year-old self than I do to my 22-year-old self. Because my 22-year-old self was in, this one of the top public business programs. I was in this world where success was, working at a consulting firm. And that's a great achievement. Do not get me wrong. And I thought I wanted that, like you should see my headshots. It's like me in a blue suit. Like I'm just like very serious. And now I had this awakening of like, this is not me. I grew up playing music, performing. There's videos of me at 6 years old, like dancing around a stage, performing for 200 people in a cheetah print dress. Like that's Piper. And then when I went through college, which I'm so thankful for a lot of it, but it made me think that I was this masculine, very serious, very professional, corporate girl boss form of myself. And that's actually not me. Like I'm more creative. I like to be free. I like to be silly. So my perception of myself has, done a full, not even 180, it's done a 360 because we went back to where we started.
Yeah. And how did you get there?
How did I get there? If you do something enough and it's not aligned with your soul, there will be one day where you wake up and you're like, no, fuck this. You can't lie to yourself for that long. Like your body will tell you when something's not right. And that's what happened.
How do you listen to your body more?
There's a feeling, everyone feels it in a different place. Like for me, it's in my gut. Like it's this feeling in my stomach that when I can tell something's off, I have a really strong intuition. And the more you listen when you get those feelings, the stronger those feelings will become. And it's also in my throat, like physically, I get really tense in my throat and in my shoulders when something's not right. Like I just, my whole body feels tense. So your physiology will tell you.
Yeah.
It's just kind of up to you if you listen, and it'll tell you enough where you have to listen. Like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Where do you feel it?
Same. Yeah,
Same?
Throat and gut. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but I just don't listen to it.
Okay, that's not true.
I just ignore
I
it.
know that.
And then it gets worse and worse and worse. And then I just like put it off and then it blows up in my face. That's my process.
That actually is the other alternative. I didn't want to go there.
And then I go, I probably should have listened to that.
But the thing is, that's like you learn the same lessons over and over again until you actually learn them.
Yeah.
I don't know. And also learning from other people's experiences is like just the best like cheat code.
Yeah.
So you don't have to figure it out yourself.
Yeah, it's sometimes the ego sits there and goes, I fucking know better.
Yeah. Then why you just...
And then it does. Then you don't know better. And they were right. They were right.
That's true. That's there's no one size fits all, unfortunately.
No. So what's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for you?
Oh. Wow. Oh, I love this story. Okay. My family is the best, and they have the most belief in me ever, and I just owe them everything. Obviously, they birthed me and gave me education, whatever. We know this. But what really gets my heart is the day I was born, my dad, again, he came from came from a lower class background. He was the first of his family to go to college, no financial literacy. He built all this himself. And the day I was born, he said he was, thinking about me and my career, and he wanted to give every opportunity to me. And one of the things he did for that is he bought my name. He bought piperphillips.com.
Oh, legend.
And he said to me, I just had an intuition that you were going to want it one day. And he's like, my grandma tells a story that he said, she can be anything she wants to be as long as it's a neuroscientist, an entrepreneur, a pop star, a supermodel, like whatever she wants to be. And he bought that website for me. And so that's how I have my website is piperphillips.com. My email is piper@piperphillips.com. And every time I see it, it's just a reminder of like the faith that my parents had in me before I was even born.
So cute. Yeah.
The best.
Love that. If you could only recommend one book, podcast, experience or something for somebody to read or do that's going to have the most impact, where basically the idea is they can only do this one thing and it's going to like turn the needle as much as possible, what would it be? Move the needle.
Ask I know that's not a podcast or a book. I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm going to save you guys the podcast or the book. Just ask.
Ask what?
Ask and you shall receive. Put yourself out there, and whatever you want, ask for it, because the worst thing a person can say is no. And closed mouths do not get fed. Like, I'm repeating to you guys all these cliche idioms, whatever they are, sayings, because they're true. Like, they're true. And just what we say as a society, from the Bible, from spiritual, like different sources, like, it's all just, you need to put yourself out there and you need to ask, because no one is going to be a champion for you more than you.
Okay. If you could know the absolute truth to one thing, what would it be?
I have all these questions popped in my head, and I'm like, I don't know if I would want to know that. I would want to understand time. I would want to understand why time feels fast and slow, why people get more or less of it. I just would want to understand that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Piper?
Yes.
Is there anything you're excited about at the moment that you'd like to let listeners in on?
Yes, I'm very excited at the moment. I'm working on a course to help people manage themselves. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be called Self-Managed Creator, honestly, because I get so sad. I have my friends text me and they're like, my manager hasn't pitched me for 2 months. I've got no deals. This is my full-time income. I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I'm stuck in this contract. I don't know how to pitch people. I don't know how to write an email. Things where I'm like, oh my God, like, this is your business. You should know that. And it makes me so sad to see people like stuck in those situations. So I was like, I'm just going to take all the questions that people ask me and put it together. So I'm really excited. This is an early idea. I don't know how it's going to look. It's probably going to be a video module, but I'm really excited to take the learning that I've had doing this full time the past year, basically growing it from nothing to over 6 figures, and put that in there.
Cool. And where can people find you if they're interested?
They can find me at Piper Phillips on everything, basically, and piperphillips.com.
Great. And my last question for today is, what is the meaning of life?
Really hitting me with the hard ones at the end. The meaning of life is love. Period. It's love. It's love for yourself. It's love for others. It's love for what you do. It's love for the small things. It's love for the big things. It's love for the scary things. It's just love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Piper Phillips.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And if anyone's still made it this far, please subscribe, give the podcast a rating. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get it. Love to hear from you. Till next time.
Bye. Mwah.
Bye.